Hello again, my witchy friends. I'm back again. I know I didn't get things in as fast as I was going to, but nevertheless, here we are. And I believe we are, what is it? This is week 5, and the question for the YouTube Pagan Challenge is, what does this time of year mean to you? Now, I know I'm behind and therefore late, so I'm going to interpret this as having meant what did the time of year around Imbolc mean to me? And really, for me, this is like the midwinter. We're past Yule, and we're moving into the weather change. And for me here, it's kind of like, I would say, a period of transition, a period of time changing, and especially because the weather is if you live in the Northeast like I do, typically there's a lot of snow, there's some ice, it's February, it's no longer January, but this year there hasn't been as much of that. So this year, weather-wise, has been a little different. Nature is kind of instead of changing with the seasons like it's supposed to, I feel like it's changing a lot differently than it ever was before. And a lot of that is probably global warming, which we won't go into politics or discussions about that here. If you're a person who loves the earth as much as I do, especially if, we're part of a nature religion, essentially, you probably notice that things are not right with Mother Earth if you believe in Mother Earth, or if you just love our planet the way I do. But anyway, that's a whole separate thing. But there's a lot of transition, so it's a time for transitional magic. It's a time for reawakening ourselves. For me, it's a time for, I would most likely say, kind of internalizing. Like a lot of things that I sometimes don't think about as much, I'm meditating on. I'm meditating on changing myself, growing, and being better, bigger, more wonderful than last year. And it comes as no surprise to me that it falls right after the calendar year changes on January 1st. So we start 2016, and this is basically, Imbolc falls right at the beginning of the next month, in February. And this is no surprise to me, really, because we're deeply in winter for most parts of the, in the idea of where we are geographically. It's probably colder outside, but the weather is changing. Sometimes it's not as snowy depending on where you are. Sometimes it's more snowy. Here, like I said, it gets more like spring. And where we are now that it's almost March, because I'm like a month late, so I'm a little bit behind here, I'm really seeing spring coming. And because of all these patterns of change and this theme of adaptation and of change and of movement, to me, this time of year is a time for meditation. If you're going to do transitional magic, this would be the time. I celebrated Imbolc basically just by cleaning my house. Which is actually a big part of it. It's, wiping out the old and bringing in the new, and a lot of that is something you can do when you clean. So for me, I had my cheese, I had my bread, I had my wine, but I also did a thorough house cleaning. And that kind of is another part where the transition goes into this. At least for me it does, because, I don't know if you noticed, but in winter, dust kind of settles more. Like, you get dusty and you get nasally and we get sick. We get ill, we get colds, we get the flu, we get, any number of things. And by cleaning, if we clean our actual houses, we're actually using our energy to move out these things. Like, we're getting rid of the dust, we're picking up after ourselves, we're more than we even realize. In the action of cleaning our houses or cleaning our spaces, we're cleaning ourselves, we're cleaning our souls in a way. And that's my next point. This is the time of year that you would, like I said with the transition, you can clean yourself. do a deep cleansing, cleanse your altar, cleanse your supplies, cleanse your stones, your rocks, your herbs, or anything that it is that you work with. Now would be the time to clean it. Do a mental cleansing of the things that you don't want to think about. And these are all ways that over the years I've celebrated Imbolc. And because, like I said before, I'm not big on the holiday. I don't do anything with a god, I don't do anything with a goddess, I don't do anything really that specific in that regard, but I do, take mental stock of myself. I make a point to clean in that regard, and celebrate my home and myself and the house of my body. It's also a good time for house magic, cooking magic, hearth and home, anything regarding those things that, the month of February is basically a time for that. Let me just say that it's a nice time of year. I think as I've gotten older, mostly as I've become an older woman, I've kind of found more, it's growing on me. Imbolc will never probably be my favorite. It'll never be anything like Yule. It'll never be anything like Mabon. It'll never be anything like, Samhain, but it's growing on me. And I think a lot of that is that as I grow older, I have more things I want to cleanse out of my house, that I want to cleanse out of my body, that I want to cleanse out of my mind. I have more things that kind of grow on me throughout the year, and that when the time comes, I can release those energies, I can release the negativity, I can release the exhaustion, I can start over with new energy. So that's kind of like my idea of what this time of year means to me. I'm sorry that this video is late. I'm making more today, and hopefully on Sunday, so I'll catch up soon, hopefully, and maybe get ahead. I know I always say that and it never happens, but all we can do is try. I'm only human. I might be a witch, but I'm not that great. So, blessed be, guys. I'll see you for next week's.